Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grow With Us. My name is Evan Barton, and I'm your host who helps create conversations with the innovators and leaders of a growing tech center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Grow With Us podcast highlights the work of community leaders, tech entrepreneurs, nonprofit professionals, and talent development advocates in Tulsa. Grow With Us is a podcast of In Tulsa. In Tulsa's mission is to connect talented individuals and companies to stimulate economic growth in Tulsa and to create more prosperous communities across the region. Each episode, Grow With Us discusses the growth of opportunities, the growth of communities striving for change, or the tech and innovation that is changing the landscape of Tulsa. On this episode of Grow With Us, I chat with Sara Allen, team leader for Campus Tulsa's Impact Academy and university student at University College Dublin. Sara and I discuss her 2 internships in Tulsa over the past 2 summers, consulting for the LGBTQ+ owned and allied businesses in Tulsa, and where Tulsa should be in 5 years. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grow With Us. My name is Evan Barton. I'm really excited to welcome to the program today Sara Allen. Thank you so much, Sara, for being here.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited.
This is going to be a great episode. Sara and I have been working together kind of all summer in various capacities through the work that she's been doing, and I'm really excited for her to get to share her story. But Sara, you've been off work for a couple of weeks now. What's been going on in your summer since your internship ended?
A lot of relaxing and just getting ready for the school year to start. A lot of packing.
I know you're packing for an international trip that I'm super excited about. You're going to Hong Kong for a year. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We'll miss you here in Tulsa for sure. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience and tell us your story in whatever way you're comfortable, Sara.
Yeah, so my name's Sara. I'm from Tulsa. I now go to University College Dublin in Ireland, and I study English and geography.
That's awesome. And you are a Booker T. Washington graduate. Yes. You've got lots of experience kind of working here in Tulsa as well. Kind of dive into some of those details for me. What do you think about Tulsa and all of those things?
Yeah, so I'm a full TPS kid. I went to Zara, I went to Edison, and then I went to Booker T. And I've got to engage with all aspects of Tulsa, mainly regarding music. I'm a double bass player, and so I've been a part of Tulsa Youth Symphony, Booker T Orchestra, community orchestras, Tulsa Honors Orchestra. That's mainly where my interests lie, but I've also been able to engage with other parts of the city. This past summer, I engaged with Impact Academy, and I also worked with them last summer. So.
Yes, and we're going to dive a little bit more into that later, which I'm really excited about. But your music career and background is really interesting. When did you get involved in playing music?
Yeah, so when I was about in 2nd grade, I think my mom turned around and said, okay, you have to learn piano. I never got to learn piano growing up. And
it always starts like that. Like the parents
always starts like that. And
I didn't do this, now you have to.
It was a lot of fun, but I was really bad at piano. And so when it came time to going to middle school, my mom gave me the option, okay, you continue with piano, which I didn't want to do, or you do orchestra. And so I signed up for orchestra through Edison, and I picked the biggest possible instrument in the room. I don't know what the thought process was there. I just thought it looked cool. And I ended up really liking it to the point where I now play in the UCD Symphony Orchestra. And even post-grad, I'm going to look at community orchestras to engage with.
That's awesome. I feel like that decision might have been kind of laid out before you, because it's like, do I want to practice piano by myself with an instructor, or do I want to be amongst friends and like playing together? I feel like that would be like my decision-making process for what instrument I play or whatever at that point in time.
Yeah, orchestras are a lot of fun because the spotlight is never just on you, it's on everybody. So it's very, in my experience, it's always been very low pressure, because especially in the bass section where you sit in the back of the orchestra and nobody's really looking at you. And it's always been a great opportunity to engage with people who share similar interests. You can go to other places in the world and go to an orchestra concert or play in an orchestra, and people will share the same interests as you, and people will laugh at the same two-set violin. YouTube videos and whatnot.
I think the fine arts are really interesting as like a as something that like is still around. They've always been around. It's something that definitely missed me. This is the finest art I do is podcasting, which is very not technical and honestly very conversational. But I'd love to. I played the recorder as a kid, and I would love to actually learn a musical instrument. I was really good at Guitar Hero. Does that count?
I think so.
There's some coordination, some hand-eye coordination there. But my friends, I had a bunch of friends in high school and in college that were either a part of like the jazz band, like a Barbary Coast, I think is what it was called at Dartmouth, and then bunch of people. I've been around it, and I have a high appreciation for it. Like I would go to the symphony, or I would go watch the concert, or the orchestra at the park, or something like that. And that's super cool. I love that. I love that you had the journey of taking it all the way with you through like middle, high, and college and everything. So a big part of your one of the reasons why you're on this podcast and many people are on this podcast is your Tulsa history. You have a long Tulsa history. One that's kind of similar to mine. I mean, we went to the same middle school and high school, which is so funny.
I didn't know you went to Edison.
I also went to Edison.
Nice.
Edison Eagles.
Nice.
I was like, when did I go to Edison? In like 2000. I keep trying to place it. It's like 2011, 2012. But we wouldn't have been there at the same time because there's only 3 years overlap or whatever. But your relationship with Tulsa is really interesting to me, and I'm always curious, obviously, to hear about what everyone's how it starts, how it ends, how it's changed. Yours is a particular perspective that's interesting to me, right? Not just to me, but to our audience, I think, because it's one that starts after mine did, and most of the time we have people that are either their Tulsa journeys are like, oh, I just moved here, or I grew up here, but it was like in the 90s. But like we grew up in the 2000s, early 2010s and stuff. That was when we were experiencing Tulsa, the not too distant past. But I'd love for you to kind of talk me through like what your relationship with Tulsa is like, kind of all the way through those different stages, and how you've seen it change over time.
It's very positive. I feel like Tulsa's the perfect size. You can go to the grocery store and run into like at least one person, and I love running into people. I love saying hi, and so it's like perfect for me. And you're always like at least like one or two connections away from another person, which I think is really funny. Like for example, if you connect with someone on LinkedIn, your like recommendations are like other people that you knew, and then that person knows. And so Tulsa's very small, but it's also big to where there's lots of opportunities and lots going on, and you don't ever feel claustrophobic, or you just have the opportunity to do whatever you want. Yeah.
There was one time you kind of proved this point in something that you did when your team organized like a focus group for one of the projects the project you guys are working on. And I walked into the room and I knew every single person that was in the room. I was like, hey, good to see you guys. Which is a testament to the close-knit like community. But did you always feel like it was that way? Like middle school, high school, it was like I could, go somewhere and I would see someone from school, or I would see someone that I was in orchestra with or whatever.
I don't think I realized it until I started driving, and I didn't until I got my own autonomy in terms of okay, I'm going to go to the store, or I'm going to go to this coffee shop. And that's when I started to really notice it. And then there's another characteristic of Tulsa that I really like is everybody's willing to help another person, or everybody's so nice. And that was definitely proven this past summer, and even last summer with our projects, where just reaching out to business owners that I don't even know, and saying, hey, I'm so interested in your business. Could we talk to you about being a queer and allied business? And almost every single time the person would turn around and say, absolutely. Yeah. When can we come in? And so that's something I really admire about Tulsa.
Yeah, I think that's a unique thing about aspect about the city that gets touched on in many different ways. I think, from your perspective, it's like I'm consulting on a project, or I'm doing research in a way, and the answer is still yes. Or there's people looking to connect, to network, and through business resources, and that mid-level role, and they also get a yes. Or it's like I'm trying to I don't know. There's not always a yes, but there seems to be an abundance of yes in the business community. And I think maybe specifically just the environment of Tulsa is, like you said, a little bit friendly. I guess more characteristic of a true Midwest city, but like, I don't know, where do you lie on, is Tulsa or Oklahoma a part of the Midwest? What are your thoughts on that?
I think when we're talking about Chapel Roan, I think it absolutely is.
Everything in the context of Chapel Roan is yes.
Yes. I like to say South.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about Chapel Roan, it's in the Midwest.
Yes, I need to continue to connect myself to her vision of the Midwest. I go, my non-jokey answer is that I call Oklahoma the South. And I think that Tulsa, though, specifically might have like more Midwest tendencies than many towns in the South. But we are a part of Oklahoma, which is in the South. Like, I think in the like connotations and everything like that. Not the Southeast, like the deep South, or I think we're just more aligned to Texas in our sensibilities, which, kind of does create its own outlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tulsa is one of those places we've both grown up in and had really cool experiences in. You're in the process right now of going to college and then coming back to Tulsa. Has there been a time where you've gone and come back and a big change happened, or like you noticed something, I guess, like markedly different?
Yeah, so coming back, I see small and big changes, even if it's just businesses. Like, for example, my family's really into Peruvian food. We love Peruvian food. And there's a new Peruvian restaurant. We ate there last night. So even just small businesses like that coming back and being like, oh, I want to eat there. I saw there is a sourdough place that opened up downtown that my team lead from last summer was telling me about. Or even advocacy groups, which we had a lot of exposure to this summer, working with the Prison Project. To summarize our project really quickly, I'm sure we'll get into it further, but we essentially looked at the viability of creating a support system for LGBTQ businesses. And so a lot of that was talking to advocacy groups in Tulsa, both like LGBTQ advocacy groups and then business advocacy groups and then other ones. And so one of the organizations we talked to, TACO, the Trans Advocacy Coalition of Oklahoma, they started in 2023, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're brand new and they've done a lot of work. And so it's really inspiring to come back and see a lot of these new advocacy groups.
And very grassroots. I mean, we're gonna get to that conversation because I think we both have a lot to say about that. But that's super. And I think you're hitting it right on the head with like things happen in Tulsa. Obviously, small changes, big changes, they happen in every city. But like I think the ones that we have started to see over the past couple of years or so are these like. And these real like grassroots and like people-oriented spaces, like really growing, and that's exciting to see because that's I think people coming into their own and seeing what they can how they can leverage their community.
For sure. So
let's kind of dive into like what you're kind of going through right now. Your current place and time. You're an undergraduate at the University of College Dublin. Did I say that? Is that
University College Dublin.
University College Dublin. Okay, yes. University College Dublin. You've obviously had the background and experience here in Tulsa, and then you've also had the opportunity of interning with the Campus Tulsa Impact Academy for the past 2 summers.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to kind of talk to me about like what that experience has been like for you, and then being a college student in this day and age, kind of touch on all of those things.
Impact Academy is really cool because it's a collection of people from all different majors and all different places in the world. And we come together for the summer to each work on a project. There's different teams. There's 3 teams. And I mentioned our project was working with the PRISM project. But through Impact Academy, you get to engage with people from all over Tulsa regarding your project. So for us, we engaged with advocacy groups, LGBTQ business owners, allied business owners, and then even outside of the project, engaging with people in the co-working space. So we're in the same office as Tulsa Remote, in Tulsa for you and me. Mm-hmm. Did I get it?
Yep.
Right. Okay. And so it's cool to like indirectly see what's happening in Tulsa outside of our project, and that's really inspiring. And get to meet with the people who learn about what those organizations are doing. And then we're also with OU's ICCEW because it's a partnership with Campus Tulsa. And so learning about what OU's doing and learning about what ICCEW is doing. Being a college student, it's a lot of, it's a lot of fun. I think my college experience is a little bit unique in the fact that I go to school overseas. And so it's a little bit different than if I was to go to school in-state or out-of-state. And so last summer, I was just an intern with Impact Academy. I came back this summer to be a team lead. It's a little bit different in the sense that I'm the one instructing a group of 4 interns on the consulting framework and kind of showing them how the summer will go and leading them through the process.
So talking about Impact Academy, I love the way you framed kind of like the collection of ideas and people. There's really lots of cool things going on here. I'll just kind of level set with like the Impact Academy is an initiative with Campus Tulsa and the OU's Rani K. Irani Center for the Creation of Economic Wealth. And we've been doing Impact Academy. This is, I think, our 4th iteration of it. So you've been a part of 2 of those, which has been really exciting. Last year, like you mentioned, you participated as a intern, part of the cohort. And you were with the Lindsay House team? No,
you
were with Jay Parlay.
Jay Parlay.
Yes, because I was like, I don't remember this one. You were with the Jay Parlay team, which I really enjoyed. That, like, hearing the culmination of that experience was really awesome. Your team lead was
Daniel Jackson.
Was Daniel, who was on the podcast last year. So last year we interviewed your team lead, and this year you're the team lead getting interviewed. Full circle moment. We love Grow With Us getting to make these moments.
Yes.
But it was really cool in kind of hearing his explanation of kind of the work that he was guiding you all through, and now you kind of have that experience on the other end of guiding a whole nother group of folks. And your team was really cool. You were this team that you had this year was a team of 4, the only team of 4. And I think that you guys did a really, really great job of kind of like really kind of covering each other's bases, and each of you had your strengths.
Yes.
And it was a really good, strong team. With this year's cohort of the Impact Academy, like you mentioned, there were 3 teams. One group was focused on consulting with Tulsa Prism Project. The next one was working with Tulsa Botanic Gardens. And then the third group was working with Circle Cinema. And overall, the engagement is, and the internship opportunity is for first-year college students that have just completed their first year. So typically like a freshman, rising sophomore, or rising junior. The internship opportunities aren't as abundant for those folks. Internships are kind of directly targeted for people that are rising seniors, which in my opinion is a little late.
I totally agree.
There's 2 summers that you could have had an opportunity, and if you didn't have the right opportunity, the right network, you might not have had the opportunity to, I guess, learn some of those professional development skills. But anyways, Impact Academy provides that opportunity to those folks. And you got the chance to, one, be that rising sophomore looking for that first like summer experience, and then on the heels of that, the next year come back and kind of be a leader, which was really cool, like a cool growth opportunity. And then I'd love for you to kind of talk to, like, inclusive of the interning in Tulsa with the Impact Academy, you also had the chance to experience some of our Campus Tulsa programming. I'd love for you to kind of talk about maybe some of those. How was that for you this year?
It was a lot of fun. The private chef experience was my favorite. That was really cool. I also went to the bowling. I went to the FC Tulsa. It was a lot of fun to engage with people that I directly work with through Impact Academy outside of the typical 9 to 5, but then also meet people who are doing other Campus Tulsa internships. One of my best friends was one of the interns at Take Control Initiative, so we often met up at the Campus Tulsa events, and I got to meet people that she was working with. She got to meet people that I was working with.
That's awesome. Well, that's the goal, is to create those like networking opportunities, and the private chef experience was really fun. I'm so glad that you highlighted that one.
You have to do it again.
Yes, we will.
Summer.
We'll be reaching out to the folks at Burning Cedar. They did a really great job. So now I'd like for you to let's talk specifically about your Tulsa Prism Project opportunity or project, because I think that one is of particular note. Go ahead and I will yield the floor, and then of course I will have interjections. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about what your project was this summer with Tulsa Prism Project.
Yeah, so we worked with Josiah Robinson, who's the managing director of the Prism Project, in looking at the viability of creating a support system for LGBTQ owned and allied businesses in Tulsa. So as I mentioned, this is a lot of interviewing LGBTQ owned and allied businesses in Tulsa, support systems in Tulsa, and measuring what it means to be an LGBTQ business in Tulsa. Are there resources for professional development? Are there business development classes? What is the, sorry. I start sentences and I don't know how I'm going to finish.
That's okay.
Measuring what it means to be an LGBTQ business in Tulsa and how those businesses navigate the Tulsa ecosystem and what specific needs they have that this entity could provide in supporting them.
Yeah, or what entities exist here. A part of your research was what entities exist here and are either providing or not providing the things that you mentioned, like business resources, business development, networking opportunities, all of those things. That was one of my one of the interesting parts.
Yes.
There's many interesting parts, but this one in particular was what is already here versus what would need to be created to get us to a certain level. And then also that city to city comparison, or region to region comparison.
Yeah. That was something. So we looked at what support systems exist in Tulsa, what do they offer versus what do LGBTQ owned businesses need, and sometimes what they offer doesn't necessarily. Sorry.
You're not dragging anyone yet either.
So we looked at what LGBTQ support systems in Tulsa exist and what LGBTQ owned businesses need, and sometimes those two offerings didn't necessarily match. There'd be stuff that is offered that's great, but it doesn't fully support LGBTQ owned and allied businesses. So just trying to fill in the gaps in relation to that.
Yeah, and I think you guys were really given a difficult charge of being, 5 college-age folks that have to go ask businesses what they need and what they're not getting.
Yeah.
And then also kind of go to those places that are providing those services and essentially audit them in a way of if they are meeting the needs of the communities that they're saying that they're trying to. And I mean, not to steal the thunder, but I feel like you kind of found that they weren't in many ways. There's entities that could realign their focus on what they're trying to accomplish as an entity and how they're serving the community. And I think that that's a challenge that they can either face or not face. And hopefully with the suggestions that you all provided in your consultation, they would have many, many action items that they could take on or many different routes they could go on to kind of realign that focus.
Yeah, and then another really interesting thing that we did this summer was looking at how do we measure if a business is an LGBTQ allied business.
Yeah.
So there's one survey that one of my interns' dad owns a business, and so he got this survey, and so she knew a little bit about it, but it's the same survey that Chick-fil-A is flagged a LGBTQ allied business, which we know they're not, but and we even went into businesses that sell Pride merch, but they weren't that supportive when we went in to talk to them. They were a little bit hesitant to talk about the LGBTQ community, which was really frustrating. And so it was really eye-opening to kind of go around Tulsa and see a lot of rainbow capitalism in the sense of they sell Pride merch, but they don't actively want to engage with the LGBTQ community or find ways to support the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of my opinions and thoughts about this are coming from a personal perspective. Obviously, belonging to the community, it's something that I think about that in the way that I navigate this city. It's not lost on me that I'm in a conservative state, that I'm in a largely red landscape. And so, I think the things that I tell myself to make myself feel better are sometimes like, oh, Tulsa's different.
Yeah.
Tulsa's better. Or the people in Tulsa are nice, and they don't ever treat me differently for looking the way that I do or having the background that I do. But I think that something that was particularly like striking about y'all's research was that they're not loud and proud about their support by any means, which is something that I knew, but getting it reaffirmed in different ways, and then also like having that reaffirmed by like, I mean, you guys are not that much younger than me, but like young people, like the younger generation, like you all are affected by that. The generation before you is still affected by this like status quo of normalcy that is like silence or not explicit support, which I find is maybe what our generation, yours and my generation, is aimed at kind of tackling. Like, how do we get more people to be? It's not louder and prouder about things that matter, just louder and prouder about people's existence.
Yeah,
like
I
really,
completely agree.
That's just where it boils down to me, for me in particular. Another part of your research that I found really interesting was the distribution of LGBT-owned and allied businesses, like by sector, and kind of the instability of those like different sectors. Or I guess instability might not be like the best characterizing word, but how would
more vulnerable sectors. So LGBTQ-owned, we found that LGBTQ-owned businesses tend to be in more vulnerable sectors. So, for example, food and restaurant, and retail.
And like professional services, which is like, and then you also found that most LGBT businesses were established within
the past 10 years.
Within the past 10 years, and have a head count of under 10 still to this day.
Yeah.
So the growth of the LGBT businesses has been, or is characterized by these things that essentially they're not bad. It's not bad business. It's not that they're doing bad business. It's, again, it's pointing out the need for these overarching entities to provide support.
Yeah.
Like, I think you also found that the people that start these businesses aren't business majors. They're oftentimes like maybe career pivoters, or like the professional services, they're tradesmen essentially. Like that's how they own their businesses. They started a studio, a photography studio, or they have started a salon. So it's just interesting that I found the work that you all did particularly fascinating. Just one, as an LGBT business owner myself, like kind of where things lie. And then two, like you guys were investigating the solutions for how to make Tulsa better. And I think that you guys came up with a really good one.
Thank you. Yeah. It was really interesting. When we did a focus group, and one kind of funny thing is when we did our focus group, we struggled to get diversity in terms of like different business sectors. I think we had a lot of creative people, if not all, pretty much creative people in our focus group of about like 8 people. And so it became very apparent that LGBTQ-owned businesses kind of fit into like various sectors that tend to be vulnerable. So like creative or arts related or business. And
one person shared that their business was the LGBT Pew, which I love that business, that name. That's essentially about creating opportunities for the LGBT community to have, I guess, exposure to and like training with operating a firearm as like a defense. I think it's self-defense class. It was really interesting to like, not to put them on like opposite ends of anything, but in terms of their needs of their businesses, what a creative needs is like loud and proud like support. So to know where they can have events or to know where they're welcomed, versus like the gun range is not going to put up
a
rainbow flag outside, because that will
Yeah.
that wouldn't make LGBT like patrons comfortable necessarily. It could potentially galvanize
Yeah.
the patrons that do go there and don't share those beliefs, even if it's just virtue signaling. I don't know. It was a really interesting perspective to bubble up from that focus group, because I was like, that is important to consider, like what we're asking, what visibility we're asking for, essentially.
Yeah. I forgot about that, but I still think even then everything kind of narrows down to business classes of how do I do my taxes as a business owner? What does the legal stuff look like? Is there a roundtable for all of us to get together and talk about issues that I am facing as an LGBTQ business owner?
Yeah.
And so even though there was diversity in the sense of different types of businesses, everybody shared the same sentiment of there are barriers in terms of I don't know what I'm doing, or I kind of know what I'm doing, but I need help with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, not to throw my business out there, but that's what I would need help on, because we need entity forming. Like, how do I, if I have a 2-person LLC versus a 1-person LLC, like that type of acumen is just not entirely accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
Even if you have a degree. So.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, like, how are you supporting that? And I feel like that was really what your project focused on. Awesome. So I think we've talked a lot about what the project was, and Impact Academy seems like I can kind of speak that it's a great program, especially if you're curious about how Impact Academy works as a program of Campus Tulsa and OU's ICCEW. You could reach out to both of us. Obviously, Sarah has direct experience both as a team lead and as a former intern. And then my role at Campus Tulsa was essentially as a supervisor to you all, more of an advisor, not a supervisor. But having that opportunity to kind of see how the project started and ended was really exciting, especially on a topic that I was in particular very excited to kind of see what happens. So I really hope that Josiah is a close friend of mine, so I hope that he takes many of your suggestions for what to do with this type of LGBT business resources. I'm excited to see how it kind of unfolds in Tulsa. And thank you for your hard work with all of that. I think that will, if those projects come to fruition, I really do think that would leave a lasting effect on the business landscape here in Tulsa.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to see where the project goes in the future.
Awesome. So let's kind of wrap up our conversation here with just a little forward thinking. I'd love to kind of hear from you, Sarah, from your perspective, where do you hope to see Tulsa in the next 5 years? What's kind of some things that, I guess you can also answer this particularly from the perspective of like, what would I want to see that would make me move back here after graduation, if that wasn't already in your plan? Now I'm throwing a wrench into what you prepared, so I apologize. But whichever way you choose to answer, I would love to hear kind of where you want to see Tulsa in the next 5 years.
I think Tulsa is defined by like 2 main challenges: lack of public transportation, like many American cities, and then also de facto segregation. And I think those 2 work hand in hand. And so I would like to see opportunities throughout Tulsa, not just in one area or the next, but opportunities throughout Tulsa. And I think there's already opportunities happening throughout Tulsa, but just expanding that to kind of connect the city. And then also, public transportation is such I feel like it's a lame answer because everybody says that, but moving people from one place to the next. And there's a lot that it's difficult. There's a lot that I noticed. Even I did a little bit of work helping with the Afghan resettlement here in Tulsa, and having a group of people come who obviously don't have cars, don't have their licenses yet, many who don't drive, and trying to find them jobs, but then also having them not have the ability to go to jobs, and having a group of people reliant on Ubers. And so firsthand seeing how lack of public transportation impacts the ability to get to work, make money. And so I'm definitely
and function in society.
And literally function in society, like go to the grocery store. And so that's something that I'm particularly passionate about.
Yeah. I don't think it's a lame answer. I find that most people who are socially conscious are aware that mobility is a huge barrier to, I think, American progress, or at least the progress that the short term, long term, all of those things. I just hope that I hope that we can find a way for everyone that sees that as I really want it to happen, but I don't have a role in it.
Yeah,
I hope that we can find a role for us, you know, our passion for the supporting each of our communities, getting to work, getting to the grocery store is that's actually something we can do.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I wish I knew how. But if you and me are both we want to help solve public transportation, then there might be more people that can actually hopefully do something. So don't lose that. It's not lame. Keep fighting for it. And I'll be right there with you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, I want to see those things in Tulsa too, to be honest. We share a lot of similar passions. And I think you also have a heart for community that I've seen not only in your work, but in the way that you speak about things. So I'm really excited to see those things happen because of your influence or because of the way that Tulsa's already heading, hopefully. So but Sara, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. I think for me, it's really personally validating to know you and have seen your work grow over time. I remember last year, interviewed you had Layla interview you in a coffee shop, and that relationship continuing on to now, to me interviewing you and having the opportunity to kind of hear from your awesome perspectives has been really great. So, and I think that the work that you did this summer in particular was really amazing for this community. So I'm excited to see how that all unfolds. But thank you for being on Grow With Us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Grow With Us. Grow With Us is supported by InTulsa Initiatives. And if you are interested in learning more about InTulsa services for job placement and workforce development, please visit talent.intulsa.com. From there, you can join our talent network where we will get you access to our newsletter, and our talent team will make sure you put the right opportunities on your radar. We put the choice to pursue a new career and opportunities in your hands. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to be notified when more episodes of Grow With Us are released. Let us know what you think about how we're doing by rating and reviewing. It really helps. Grow With Us is edited and engineered by Pod for Good Media and Jesse Ulrich. This has been Grow With Us.